Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to be taking a quick look into the year ahead. I'll give a quick overview of how a few things are going to change and a few of the different things that we're going to see as we move through 2024. So we're going to start by getting into the night sky. Now, unfortunately here at just about 6 o'clock, it is the night sky for January, but as we start moving forward day by day, we'll start to see a lot more of that sunlight coming back into the sky. So of course, we'll have to push later. As we get into February, it will still be dark reasonably early. We'll come up to almost 8 o'clock here. As we come through February, Orion will really get prominent in the sky. It'll be practically due south, nice and early in the evening, and we'll still have Jupiter for quite a while. We can see that Jupiter there is sticking with us well into March. Of course, by the time we get to March, sunset is getting even later. So we have to push later into the evening to still see the stars. I'll push us up to just about 9 o'clock. That's nice and late. And of course, it'll be dark at 9 o'clock for a good portion of the year. We can see the moon orbiting around us. And as we come up to the middle of the year, there we go, still bright at practically 10 o'clock, accounting for the changing of the clocks. Daylight savings time is being assumed here by Stellarium because I'm in Ireland and we do normally do daylight savings in Ireland. That may change. Here at midnight, we've definitely got a nice dark view of the sky. And it will be dark, at least quite dark, right through to the solstice. However, here in Ireland, because we're so close to the North Pole, there's still a little bit of a glow back towards the north on the shortest night of the year. So we've come halfway through the year. We've gone from the longest day to the longest night to the shortest night. And this is pretty much what the sky will look like there in midsummer. We won't get to see much simply because the night will be incredibly short. We can see that the moon there is in Scorpius. And you might notice that the moon is quite low. By the time we get into summer, of course, the sun will be high during the day. That means the moon will be low at night. These things are kind of the opposite of each other. We're at midnight now, so of course we won't have to change the time much for the rest of the year. It's not going to get brighter than it will be at midsummer. Saturn's after returning to us here in the evening, or at least at midnight. Saturn is orbiting around the sun. It is moving itself, but just so slowly that we won't really have to worry too much about it moving drastically. As we go through the year, it'll disappear behind the sun and reappear in the evening thanks to our motion. So there's Saturn pretty much due south as we get a little bit later in the year. If it's due south at midnight, that means it is at opposition. So that'll be when it is at its brightest and its closest to the Earth. And as we move through into December, we can see Jupiter comes up to opposition as well. Now, Jupiter's at opposition there in December next year. If you recall, last year in 2023, Jupiter was at opposition in November. So because Jupiter is a little bit closer to us and a little bit closer to the sun, it is orbiting around faster. So that means it's going to more noticeably change position from year to year. Of course, Mars, we can even see here as we move day by day, Mars is noticeably moving against the background of the stars as we push into 2025. So those are, well, that's going to be our view of the planets. I'll push us all the way back to the beginning of the year. We'll move out to the countryside and we're going to take a quick look at the morning sky. Because we saw so many planets in the evening as we were coming to the end of 2023, that means a lot of them are going to disappear behind the sun for the early part of 2024 and then reappear in the morning. We're back into 2023. Fantastic. Let's head out to the countryside, get rid of all of that nasty light pollution. Of course, we're not going to see the Milky Way in the city. It's simply too bright. There's too much artificial light from us. But what we're seeing here, I'll move us into early 2024. What we're seeing here in early 2024 is the outer limb, not the core, the opposite side to the core of the Milky Way. That's what's close to the middle of our sky when we're in wintertime. When we move around to summertime, we do see the core of the Milky Way in the middle of the sky in the middle of the night, but that night is incredibly short because it's the middle of summer. So we can see Venus and Mercury there. We're here at 7 o'clock, so we will have to push later into the night. We'll have to push further away from morning time as we get later in the year. Even here in late January, we have to start moving a little bit earlier to keep things dark. And that's going to make it harder to see planets like Venus and Mercury that are very close to the sun. We can see the constellation Scorpius there drifting away. Venus just hanging on at the edge of the horizon. Venus is going to disappear, getting too close to the sun in early 2024. Here we go. Just before the sunrise, we're starting to see the core of the Milky Way there. So if you're an early riser, it's still reasonably dark in March. That is something you can see. We'll push a little bit later into the night to keep things dark, and we'll keep pushing forward. So you can see the light of the moon, especially when it's close to full, blocks out or extincts that lovely glow of the Milky Way. The moon's light is certainly bright enough. There's Mars and Saturn popping back up in the morning as we get into April. We can see there Scorpius looking great at that time of the year. And of course, it does look really, really good in the summer. We'll keep pushing forward closer and closer to summertime. We're quite early in the morning here. And as we get close to summer, you can see that even at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's quite a lot of that sunrise glow in the sky. So the change in the evening, the sun setting later or setting earlier, that's very, very noticeable. It's often a little bit more difficult to notice that the same changes are happening in the morning. Of course, you might be a little bit groggy getting up early in the morning, not paying attention to the lights in the sky. So here we are, 3 o'clock in the morning, pretty much in the middle of summer. And there's the Milky Way down towards the south. So that is really a fantastic time of year to see the Milky Way, except that the humidity here in Ireland during summer is often a little bit higher at night. The heat causes water to evaporate, and that makes it a little bit cloudier and harder to see the Milky Way. So we won't need to push any earlier than 3 o'clock in the morning now. We're pushing back into wintertime 2024, and we can see there's Saturn, there's Uranus. We'll see that Jupiter is now on the other side of the Pleiades. So Jupiter has moved. And of course, it's orbiting around the sun as well. We can see that Mars is also drifting, seemingly drifting backwards there. So this must be during the time of Mars in its retrograde motion before it starts moving forward again in the direction that we'd expect. So this is a wonderful view, pretty much the view that we just had in this year's December and January, of course, with Orion looking really nice in the sky. So that's a very broad overview of what we're going to get. And you might notice that for a portion of the year, because the planets aren't super far apart in the sky, Jupiter and Mars in particular will look quite close together. There's going to be large portions of the year where we don't see many planets in the sky. Of course, the planets are always moving around. They'll come back into view. We'll get another opportunity to see them, but they are going to be missing for a lot of the year. That's the planets that we're going to get to see coming up in the coming months. And we can see the quadrantids there running in January. As we move through the year, we'll get to see different meteor showers, and I'll bring us a little bit closer to evening time, just after sunset, because of course that's going to be pretty much the easiest time to go out. And we can see now that we've moved back a little bit closer to now. There's Jupiter on the right-hand side of the Pleiades, and it'll be on the other side of the Pleiades by the time we see it again late in 2024. So we'll keep moving through here. We'll need to get a little bit later to keep things dark. And as we move through the year, we'll see that different meteor showers pop up in different places. Some are going to be quite impressive. Some are going to be barely noticeable, adding only a few, a handful of meteors to the sky. We can see that some of them are drifting. The radiants are drifting, and that's as we move through the path. Here in August, we've got the Perseids, which are a fantastic meteor shower. They're particularly nice. And their radiant is up nice and high there in the evening. We can see that they're popping up and disappearing. Some of them hang around for longer. Some of them disappear much more quickly. Different meteor showers, they're created by the paths of different objects, and these different objects, they leave behind paths of different thicknesses. There's the Draconids, they're pretty good as well. And the Orionids, one of the Geminids, not the big Geminids, just one of the other Geminids. You'll notice that we've got Greek letters to help separate out different sets of meteor showers that originate from the same constellation. The Leonids there are really, really nice, and we'll just push through to the very end of the year just to get an idea of what sunset's going to look like if you're out in the countryside next year. Yeah, there's the good, the more productive, more impressive Geminids there as we come to the end of December. So just before we finish up, all through 2023, we barely got a chance to look at Mars. So here at the end of 2024, let's take a quick look. Of course, we'll be paying plenty of quick visits to Mars as we get into 2024, as it starts to reappear in the morning and then start to become visible in the evening sky. So we can see its two moons there, Deimos and Phobos. We're viewing a fantastic part of Mars here on the 29th of the 12th, 2024, if you can wait for it. We're seeing the Tharsis region there with Olympus Mons and that big canyon, the Valles Marineris, on the surface of Mars, this big ice cap there. We can see an ice cap on both sides there of Mars. So mostly frozen carbon dioxide, a little bit of frozen water as well. So that's just a quick preview. Of course, we'll be going through all of those months in real time as we move through 2024, and we'll be looking at all of these different things and these different changes, taking closer looks at the planets and these different events, not to mention all of the eclipses that are coming up. But I'll save those and previews of those for future videos, which I hope you will return to this channel for. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel, you're more likely to be recommended these videos. And if you like this video, then I know that you liked it and I can make more videos like this. If you'd like to read some of this information, then of course you can take a look at queebeanscontent.ie, where I do a little write-up of these videos that I make. So thank you for coming, and hopefully you'll join me next time.